Hello, welcome back to Called to Homeschool with your homeschool coach, Meg Thomas. And I am here with Jessica. And we are doing one of the questions that she messaged in. And I have loved these and I have loved the responses I've been getting from people because they're like, I thought that too. I was wondering this same question. And so I have found this to be so incredibly helpful. And that at the end of the day is what I want to do is help people in their homeschool. So Jessica, let's go ahead and say hi, introduce yourself, and tell us why you started homeschooling.
Awesome. Yeah. Hi, my name is Jessica. I live in northern Utah. This is my second year homeschooling. I have three girls, ages 7, 4, and 2. And we started homeschooling because I just really wanted to have more time with my kids. We had my first child. She did kindergarten and she liked it okay, but she just really missed being home and I missed having her home. And she just had a lot better experience, especially with her siblings when I brought her home. So we're just still trying to get into the groove of how to do things, and we're just loving it.
Okay, awesome. I love this question because, I'm going to read in just a second because I feel like this is one that I've heard a lot. And so I'm so excited to dive in with this with Jessica. Do you prefer Jess or Jessica? I should have asked you that in the beginning.
Either one.
Okay.
Yeah, you can call me
Before
Jess.
I just give you a nickname that you were like, please don't. Okay, so she said she had the three girls, and she said her oldest, who is 7, is very strong willed, opinionated, loves to debate or negotiate anything I say that involves doing school or other responsibilities she doesn't like, and takes up a lot of energetic space of our home. It is like pulling teeth to get her to do anything she doesn't want to do. I do my best not to yell and use positive request as well as state and keep boundaries, but they don't seem to work. I know you've mentioned having good connection helps with this. I try and do one-on-one time with each child for 10 minutes a day where they get to choose what we do and we have fun together. This helps sometimes, but most days she still won't listen. Sorry, I should have put my glasses on. It's like the connection didn't help at all. I guess what I'm asking for is several ideas of what connection could be for varying ages, but especially for my 7-year-old. I'm feeling so nervous for our school year because our connection feels lacking and I just feel helpless and how to get that connection back so we can have a successful school year. Okay, anybody else ever feel this way? Like, how do I do work with this child who is pushing back? So let's paint a picture. Give me an example of a time that she's not listening. What does that look like?
Let's see. So an example would be if we go through our morning, we get our to-dos done, make bed, brush teeth, do hair, all of those things, and then it's time to sit down for school. Um, I will pull out a book or some assignment, and she just acts like she doesn't know how to do it when I know she does, like her skill level. And she will just resist it and if we take a break, try to do some form of connection, we'll play a game or something like a math game, whatever, and then she'll do fine. And then come, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes later, and I asked her to do something else, it's resisted again. And it's just this pattern of, okay, I find a way to connect. It works for like a few minutes, and then I have to just constantly redo it, which gets harder and harder as I have other little kids that need my attention and I don't know. It's almost like having the extra kids creates a disconnect with my oldest when I'm doing school with her and it's just hard to know what connection is going to work best with her and when. I don't know. My brain's all jumbled everywhere because I just don't know what to do.
Yes, and I'm actually going to take this into a different direction.
Okay.
So, how long are you trying to do school with her?
We only do it like 20 minutes. It's not very long just because I know she doesn't want to really do it.
Yes. And what does that 20 minutes look like?
So usually we'll do a little bit of reading and then just either depending on the day, language arts or math. And at this point, we're just doing like one page max. Sometimes not even that, just depending on how resistant she is to it. Because I kind of like I mentioned, I want that connection more than I want the strict, you have to get this done. And so, but then it gets to the point where we get like two things done and then we're done for the day. And then I just feel like we're never getting through anything.
Yes. Okay. So it's so interesting because we're putting all the pressure on her, right? Like, I need you to show up in a certain way and I need you to do this. And I'm going to try to connect. And it's almost like, and I'm not saying you're doing this, but like maybe even think in the back of your mind of like, am I only connecting with her to get her to do something, which is manipulation, right? Like,
Right.
I connect with you. Now you do this darn thing that I want. But when we start thinking of like, I actually connect with you because I like you, I connect with you to have a relationship with you, then we can start looking at homeschool in a different way and in a different light. So instead of like, we have to just one math page, like, it's not that hard, but obviously it is. Right. And so instead of you like fighting up against this wall of like, okay, how many do you think you could do? Could you do one math problem a day? And I'm not saying this forever, but it's, some kids have to go at a much slower space. And it could even look like then we just like, we're not even going to do math. We're just going to play this game. I have a kid who really, really, really hated handwriting. And I was like, okay, not a big deal. How much could you do? I have done handwriting without tears for most of my kids. And this one kid was like, this is stupid. And I hate everything about it. I said, okay, obviously one page, even though in my brain for all my other kids, it wasn't that big of a deal. But this kid, it was a terrible deal. And I said, what do you think you could do realistically? And he goes, one word a day. And I go, fantastic. Let's do one word a day. And he did one word a day, like a third grade cursive handwriting book, took him 4 or 5 years. And now when he writes, I'm like, hey, let's do it in cursive. He's like, great. And it's super easy for him because we went at his pace. So, like, look at this with her. Are you connecting with her to connect with her, or are you connecting with her to try to force a result?
That's really good. I think there are a lot of days where I feel like I do need to do the connection because then she'll be more likely to do what I want her to do. And it's not that I don't love her. Like of
No,
course
I
I want to connect on her on, deeper levels as well. But then there are also those days where when she is like being super resistant and like strong-willed and kind of a stinker where I don't want to like
yeah.
be around her, which sounds so sad and so bad. Like I
But
promise.
everybody has felt this
Yes.
way. So, like, you're just
Yes.
having the courage to say it.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's just, I think those days especially are really hard where I'm like, I don't even want to talk to you right now. Like, I guess on those kind of days, what do I do to have that desire to want to connect with her? And
So it's so interesting because you're like, she is being so strong willed and she is being so resistant. And if I were to hold up a mirror and saying, like, hey, Jessica, what are you doing? And you're actually, like, with all the love in my heart, you are being strong willed and resistant on how things are being done.
mm,
Like, we do school this way. And in the magical world, yes, that would totally work. Of like, I connected with you, we played a game, we went on a walk, and now you're like, Mommy, I just want to do all the homeschool in all the world. And I want, can I clean for you too? Right. It sounds so beautiful. But like, when we really look at it, like, you are also being resistant and you're also being strong willed because you want homeschool to look a different way. And she is challenging the way you quote unquote should, like, you wanted homeschool to look like, right?
hmm yeah,
So,
that's
like,
really
let's play
enlightening.
with that.
Yeah.
So, like, if you were being less resistant of like what homeschool should look like in your brain, what could it look like?
I don't know. It's almost like the pendulum swings to the opposite side where it's okay, well, you get to choose what we do and when. And I guess for my brain, that's really hard because I have my other two girls that need me. And just if I let her choose, she's never going to want to do it. Or I don't know. I feel like we've tried that end as well and it just kind of fell apart. So I don't know. I guess trying to find that middle ground of letting her decide and then also keeping boundaries of what needs to be done. I don't know. It's a hard balance for me, especially being kind of new at this.
Yeah, which is totally fine, right? So it is like you don't want to go from one extreme to another. I personally don't unschool, so like to me that other side would be an unschooling method. It doesn't
Mhm.
work for my brain,
Yeah.
because if I have no structure, I'm like I don't even know what to do. So I
Yeah.
like to have some type of structure. But with a kid that's really resistant, I have found it's like giving options, giving choices. How many problems do you think you could do? And as they start getting like building momentum with some of these things, you'll find like, okay, like for a month or two, you've been doing one math problem a day. You are so amazing. And like, but they've gotten into this rhythm. It's like, now let's try two, or let's do something where we're building on momentum. And it's interesting because, like, even my last guy, right? He's just a year older than your 7 year old. And like sometimes he still fights it. And so some days I have to just pull back. Like, okay, let's just do one problem, or let's just play a game today instead, or like let's get out our stuffed animals and like let's actually have your stuffed animal do the answers. And usually stuffed animal, like if we play with a stuffed animal with it, stuffed animal, I'll be like, do not cheat, don't give your answers to him and don't help him. And then he's like, ha 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 ha, and a stuffed animal will whisper in his ear and he's like, he says it's 11. I'm like, I told you not to cheat, right? So all of a sudden it's this fun thing instead of like, holy cow, why does everything have to be a fight? Why can't we just do this? So that like when we are doing school, he's looking forward to it versus like, well, here's my mom's going to get mad at me now because I just don't want to do this.
I love that. Yeah, that's really helpful.
Yeah, so kind of even play around with ideas of what could it look like. Sorry, like all these ideas are coming to me, but like I want you to think of some too. So if it's like even her sitting, does she have a lot of energy?
Yes.
Okay. So sometimes that is so hard for a kid to, and for myself too. Like I rarely go to things that are speaking events because I'm like, I cannot sit. Even church for me, I'm like, okay, like maybe I got to walk around the building a little bit. So with my kids like that, sometimes we go on a run or a walk or a bike ride before school even starts. Sometimes we can even do like they can move around the room and wiggle while I do a read aloud. I rarely, and even while I'm doing a read aloud, I have found most of my kids cannot just sit for it. But if they can be doing something with their hands, it's much easier for them. So, like, that's read aloud, but like, just even thinking of some of the things that you want her to do. And I'm even going to like push back on language arts that, like, a 7 year old, what do you remember from language arts when you were 7, right? Like, is it something that could wait till she was 9 or 10 when she has the maturity to be like, yeah, this is a noun, right?
Hmm.
Versus like, I feel like you should know these things because public school kids know these things.
Yeah, and I think that could be where some pressure comes too, because I have a mom who's a school teacher in public
Yeah.
school, which she's awesome and she's really supportive. But I think I have that mentality of this is where you need to be. And so I think that would help to cut back on, especially the language arts, to say, hey, if we're reading together, that's great until she's ready to be more involved with that. Or
Yeah.
maybe
And it's,
in more
oh,
games or something. Sorry.
no, you're good. Sorry. And it's interesting too, if you've ever studied the Charlotte Mason philosophy, she
Hmm.
actually just does a lot of writing of copy work. So from really good books, it's copy work. So like a lot of times she's not even breaking it down to like this is an adverb and this is this, right? But you're just copying and you're understanding the context of sentence structure in a natural, organic way. Now, obviously, if I have a kid who hates writing, then I'm going to be creative and do something different, right? But like if you wanted to do something and maybe there's a game, I'm trying to think. I had named that now, but I don't even know if it's on my website right now. But like other games that it's like this is a noun or Mad Libs, something where it's fun and exciting. But like this is what I have found with like homeschoolers versus public school kids. So in these younger grades, public schools fire hoses these little kids with information and it looks impressive. They read at a young age, they're doing multiplication at a young age, and like they are just these sponges absorbing stuff. And so us as homeschoolers, it looks bad for us, right? Because we're like, well, my kid is like just recognizes the alphabet barely or just like very, very basic things, right? And then a switch around the teenage years happens where public school kids start taking a dive of like, I just don't care anymore. Obviously, none of this has mattered. Grades, some kids' grades matter, but a lot of kids like grades stop mattering, or they realize like, how can I do the minimum amount of work and still pass? And homeschoolers, that's when I see them escalating of like, learning is awesome. Learning is fun. What else could I do? And so, even with my second to last kid, where I was really, really trying a lot of this stuff of like, let's just make sure you love learning. And we went so slow. And he's 14 now. And it like around 12, 13, he was looking at some of the books I was reading with his bigger sister and was like, well, could I read those? And I was like, absolutely, you could read these. And like, well, could I do this? Could I do this? And then this last school year, he was like, I feel like I should be at this far in math. And I go, okay, let's jump up there then. And he figured it out. But we went so slow playing games, connecting, lots of adventures. I know you're girls, so like, but doing what works best for them. My boys need to run around and do something. So whatever works best for your girls. But then it's that those 12 plus years. And then what is that called? Like the 8 to 12 is love of learning and Thomas Jefferson education. And then 12, like to whatever, is scholar. And when you really give them this love of learning in that 8 to 12, and your 7-year old's just about there, then when they're 12, all of a sudden it's like, oh, I've got this. I can do these types of things. But it is a huge leap of faith. And that is scary because it's your first kid. And you have a parent in the education field who may be like, hey, your 7-year old should know these things because that's what they do in the public school.
Right. And that's really encouraging to hear you say all of that. It gives me a lot of hope to know that it's okay. And actually, since I submitted the question, I've had the idea to just really step back and just do a lot of games with her, like math games and reading games. And that has helped so much in her willingness to want to do things. And so I think it is helpful to just know that when she's ready and in her time, she'll want to do it. And anyway, that's just really encouraging. So thank you.
Yeah. And you may even look at too, like a lot of the way I teach too is like subject of the day. And so we may have a picture book that we are learning something about. And I have found for some of my kids, if I will just pre read it and then give them an activity to do about it, and then just kind of tell them the story, they're all in because they don't have the attention span or the skill yet to sit and listen to me read or sit and listen to me do something. So it's just like, it's so interesting because we want our kid to form to us. Like this would be so much easier. And part of the growth and the challenge of homeschooling is us being willing to adapt for them.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah. So does this kind of, so you had a lot of questions with her too, with like, I don't know if you wanted to dive her deep with this too, like taking a lot of space in the home. Do you have other questions with her, just like in that family dynamic, other than just homeschool?
Yeah, so I mean, just the aspect of her taking a lot of energy of the home, I feel like it takes away from giving my other two kids the connection time that they need. And it's almost like they need less connection time than my oldest, just, their cups get filled faster. So maybe it is okay that I'm not giving them as much attention. But I guess, just wanting to feel as a parent that I'm not favoring one child over another. Um, yeah, just like in general of things around the house, like their, little chores that they do or bedtime routines. She just seems to be the one that's most demanding for wanting to do it her way and kind of takes over the other two. So sometimes it can be tricky knowing how to balance that.
Yes. So you can kind of play around with this of like, is this just some weird power trip with her? Like, is there a power struggle between the two of you? And maybe there has been, but they're also like, if she's like, but when I go to bed, I need like this many books and I need this stuffed animal, I need this kind of thing. And you're not okay with that, you don't have to. And then you can just allow her to be upset.
Right. So like holding the
Right.
boundary and letting her be mad about it.
Yes. And so if like she has this whole thing that she wants for bedtime, like, oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. I can actually do this and that's what I can do. Right? So like give me an example of her taking up a lot of energy in the home.
Um, let's see if I can think of one. So if we are sitting at the table doing an activity like with paper, craft items, whatnot, she is just usually the one that wants to be in charge and like, no, I get these supplies, you get to use these ones. And, I'll do my best to say, okay, no, these are for everyone to share. And then it just, for some reason, there seems to be this kind of contention of she needs to be the one in charge of who does what. And if I give her a little bit of, options or control, it just kind of leads into some tears with her sister saying, well, that's not fair and this and that. And I don't know if that was a very clear example. I'll try and think
No,
of
no, that's great, right? Like she just wants to be in charge. And it
yeah.
could be from being the oldest. It could have been like that you've relied on her help a lot. And then now she's like stepped into the role of like little mother.
Hmm.
And so with that, you just want to help her like, what is her role? So right now you have a story and a role that she takes up a lot of energy. She likes to be in charge. Maybe she's bossy or controlling or something like that. And we just want to give her a more positive role in the family. Like she's actually knows what she wants. It's
Hmm.
super awesome that and
Yeah.
she's really helpful. So when you're thinking of this, like setting it up and it's something. So if you guys are going to do crafts and whatnot, and you know that's a time where she would normally take over, of even deciding ahead of time, like, hey, we're going to do crafts. These are all for everybody. And so we're not going to worry about it, right? Like we're just setting them up to win so that she doesn't come in and like, I get to step in and I get to do this role, but you're going to actually preemptively teach them when we're doing crafts and they're all at the table, they are for everybody. And
Hmm.
so you don't really need a corrector in front of them. Like you just being kind of careful with that, but like maybe even a gentle reminder. She's like, no, 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 4-year-old, you can't touch that, blah, 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 because of this reason. But just for like a gentle reminder, oh, like, oh, remember when it's craft time, these are for everybody. And then
Hmm.
you can just ignore her and then like ignore if she tries to be demanding, but like praising other kids for sharing, praising all these other types of things. And so we're not going to keep feeding this fire and this fuel of this high energy type that's controlling or trying to be in charge, but just trying to show her like those are really good things about your personality. And maybe there's a way we can help funnel that of when can she be in charge? When
Hmm.
can she do these things? But like kind of dissecting that, is she trying to take over like the house? Like I'm in charge of the house and you need to remind her she's 7, or does that make sense? Like kind of
Yeah.
helping her be in the appropriate role for where she is in your family.
Yeah, that makes sense. And that just actually brought up a question. It's okay if I ask another
Yeah,
question.
please.
So, just thinking a lot of times that she'll take up like the energy or take over is at meal times. She has a really, really hard time just eating different foods. And so at meal times, I'll make one meal that everyone gets to eat. And, I'm pretty consistent with saying if you don't want this, then, that's what we're having for dinner. So you can't really have anything else. And it just turns into a full-on meltdown taking over the meal of like, I'm not going to eat this. And then she's screaming or kicking, and then it just takes away from the mealtime together as a family. And, I'll even include like a food that she does like, but then sometimes she won't even eat that either. And so maybe this is a totally different issue that,
No, 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 no.
but
She's just trying to be in charge.
yeah. And
Eh,
so trying to like help her, I don't know.
No, no, no. This is so good because it's just showing me that she is used to throwing a fit and getting to be in charge. So we just need to tell her like mom and dad are in charge. Mom's in charge, right? And these fits, like we just want to like help. Eventually, hopefully, you can get rid of fits, but sometimes we're just trying to get them to a manageable level,
Hmm.
or,
Yeah.
or or just like to help with her to teach her appropriate behavior. So if you go and download Happy Habits, that is teaching like all of your girls, not your 2-year-old, right? Okay, yeah. So you're at
Hmm.
least your 4 and 7-year-old, but you and dad as well, of
Hmm.
all working on habits in your family. So if you are still yelling, that is your habit. Like if you and dad yell, like that is your thing to work on. And if you do yell, there is a negative consequence for you and dad. And if you don't yell, there's a positive consequence. So starting with something with her. So during dinner time, it would be not screaming and like not throwing a fit at dinner time, but like listing out what fits are. So is that screaming, yelling, whatever it is that she's doing at dinner? If she does these things, she will be asked to leave, is the negative consequence, right? So then she can go in her room and she can scream and be mad and be angry. And if she doesn't, she gets to stay at dinner. And maybe if you guys do an after dinner treat or something like that, then she could have one because she ate her food and she didn't have a freak out. And then as you consistently do this, all of a sudden she's going to learn, like, well, it's not worth it. I just have to go leave. Because if she stays at the table and is having a tantrum and you guys are trying to calm her or talk like common sense to her or give her logic, like it's not that big of a deal. And I have these other options for you. But instead she sees, like, okay, you made spaghetti. You know, I hate spaghetti. And she starts to get mad. You can be like, you're welcome to go to your room and like be mad about it. And as soon as you're done, you're welcome to come right back so that
What if
she
she
can
won't
start.
go to her room? Like, because we've tried that.
Yeah, like sometimes with a kid, you can respectfully move them,
Hmm.
right?
If she's like kicking and screaming, it's fine. Just like stay in the room because then she'll come right back out if, we take her to the room and, I stay
Yes,
calm and I'm say, okay, like when you're done, like you can come back out. And then she's just kicking and screaming, wanting to try to get out of the room. Again, be in control.
yes. It just shows me that she has found that this works. Yes, like when she has a big meltdown, does she sometimes get her way or like often get her way?
Most of the time I stick pretty much to like if you're gonna stay, you have to stay in here until you're ready to sit quietly at the table. And then she'll just like fight and fight to get out of the door. And then I'll have to bring her back in, and it'll be like a 45 minute to an hour of just like bringing her back to the room, trying to calm her down. Like, I'm not even really trying to say, like, it's just more like, you can be mad. It's okay to be mad, but this is how we act at the table. And then it's just
Yeah.
really
So
long.
yeah, you're not the first person to have this struggle, right? Of a kid not going and not staying. And I have scoured parenting books and blogs and like experts. And like I've asked this exact same question. And the only thing that I have found is to physically hold the doorknob.
Okay.
Because if it was a toddler, you would put him in a pack and play and they could scream and just like have their little meltdown and whatnot. Now, I would let her know
Hmm.
ahead of time,
Okay.
like, this is not going to work anymore in our family. It is not okay. And so I don't like the idea of locking a kid up, but it's interesting with a toddler. You can put them in a car seat and you can do other things to kind of confine them because they're out of control and kicking and screaming and whatnot. And so the only thing I have found as they get older, because like you can try to hold them down, but they're going to bite and scratch and kick, of
Hmm.
physically putting them in a room and not talking to them and
Okay.
just holding that door shut. And I don't know another way, like all the connection tools when a child is to that point,
Hmm.
they are in full fight or flight. And so it's
Yes.
about keeping you safe, your husband safe, your other girls safe when they are in that. And to me, that's what I have found is just remove them into a safe space and holding the door. I
Okay.
don't like to give this advice because I don't want
Yeah.
people then like, oh, Meg says lock your kid up.
Right.
Right. But when they are into that place of like freaking out, and you do something like that, it's only going to take a few weeks, hopefully less than a month, for her to realize, like, oh, I am not going to get anything. Now,
Hmm.
with this, there can be no lecture afterwards.
Right.
Like she already knows.
Hmm.
She already knows the thing. And so, like, she already had the consequence. She had to get put into the room. And if she, when she calms down, like, I would let go of the doorknob.
Okay.
Right. And I wouldn't even come in and go in and like, oh, honey, I'm so happy because she has gone to a 10 and she is to out of control spot. And then
Hmm.
I would go. And when she does come back, of just ignoring it and just like, so glad you're here and just go back to a normal conversation because she is going to learn that, like, to me, there seems like there's a pretty big power struggle that she's trying to decide, like, I am in charge. And you have to teach her, no, actually, I am. I love
Yeah.
you, but
Hmm.
mom is in charge, honey.
Yeah. And that's been a big learning curve with her, especially being the oldest.
Mm-hmm.
Of okay, you really want to be in charge, but finding my role of I'm in charge, but still showing her that love. So
Yeah. So something to kind of play around too with your husband is, I'm assuming you're married. Are you married?
yes, yeah,
Okay.
I
I just
am.
realized that. You're like, no, I'm not. Thanks a lot. Okay, you're
No.
married. So something to sit down with your husband is even, or even just even prayer, journaling, like meditating of what is her role in our family. Because right now we kind of have a negative story about her. She takes up a lot of energy. She's really dramatic. She tries to be in control. And so she's just happily stepping into that role. So, what is the role? So, like, one of my kids was my quote unquote angry kid. Like, oh, there's my angry kid. Of course, he's throwing a fit because he's my angry kid. And I realized, like, I've got to do a better story with this.
Hmm.
So, as my husband and I didn't even say anything to him, but like, this is our story about this kid. And we started treating him like this person that we knew he was. So, for your daughter, it's like she's actually really kind. She's actually really sweet. So we're going to step into that and we're going to start pointing out those character traits of her. So when she helps the 4 year old, and I was like, oh my gosh, you are just the sweetest for helping your little sister. Thank you so much for being such a good helper. And you're going to notice this slow transition of like her stepping into, oh yeah, I am pretty amazing. Because like we will become whatever people tell us we are. If someone says you're really difficult, a kid will a lot of times, every now and then they'll try to become a people pleaser, but the other ones will just step right into it. Like, well, you said I'm difficult, or you said I do this. So let me just happily step into that role. So we just want to start giving her a new story. So, as much as you can, if ignoring, right? teaching her appropriate behavior, and then pointing out and letting her know, like, that was what we were looking for. Oh my gosh, noticed you were so great at taking initiative. Oh my gosh, I noticed you were so patient, and start noticing character traits about her that are really positive that she does have, and letting that start to grow. And the control or the high energy that's taking over the family will slowly get lower and lower.
I love that. I've tried that a little bit, but I know I could do a lot better at that. So that's something
Yeah.
I definitely do.
So I would like, it's so interesting because we cannot fully control human behavior, right?
Right.
And so at the end of the day, we have to come in like, if she never changes, could I still love her?
Yes, of course.
Yes and no though, right? Like she kind
Yeah,
of
like
bugs
I
you.
don't always want to be with her, but I always love her.
Right. So like, okay, so yes, love, but like, could I stand to be with her? Might be a,
Sometimes no.
yeah. And so like that's when we want to get to this place of like, whatever happens, I want to be with you. You're
Yeah.
my person.
Yeah.
And as we kind of have this, like, because we want to let go of that, I'm doing this because I want this behavior to change. But instead, I'm doing this because, like, I want you to have the best life possible. And, like, if this is going to help you grow. And as an added bonus, her behavior most likely will change. So I like to think of this as like a healthy weight loss journey when
Mhm.
it's like, I'm going to love my body at whatever size it is. I can't change my height. I can't, like, without major plastic surgery, I can't change my bone structure, right? Or something like that. But like when I learn to love myself at any way, any size or whatever, and I'm eating well and exercising, then I will start seeing results, but it will be in a beautiful way because I loved myself at this size to this size. Because if you cannot want to be with her and love her, and I know you love her, but you know what I mean, like live to be with
Yeah.
her
Mhm.
while she's a stinker, you won't, like, it'll be conditional still, and you'll be trying to force it versus naturally guide her to appropriate behavior, and it, like, loving her through that process. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and that's something I don't want is to have it be like conditional. And so I guess trying to find the resources of how to get to that point of wanting to be with her even when she is being a stinker. And maybe that's more like self-work on my
Hmm.
end of like loving all of me first so that I know how to do that for her. I don't know.
No, I mean, it really is a beautiful thing. And there's a meditation I have from Brooke Snow. It's like, I love and accept you. And so, like, a lot of times you put your own name in there, like, Jessica, I love and accept you. Jessica, I love and accept you. But then putting your 7-year-old's name in there
Mm,
and start meditating with that of I love and accept you. And then, and even like a beautiful step with meditation too is imagining her saying it to you, like, Mom, I love and accept you. And I think, like, God is so understanding and like merciful that He gives us children that we are doing, like, they love us no matter what. And they want to be with us even when we make so many mistakes when they're younger, like this. So it gives us lots of time to figure out what in the world we're doing, because it's your first time raising in a 7-year-old, right? It's your
yeah.
first time doing something with this personality. And we would never expect somebody on their first day of a job to be an expert with it. And so she's going to forgive you so instantly as you keep trying and you keep doing your best and keep loving her and guiding her. She's going to keep forgiving you. And then you're like, by the time she reaches the teen years, you guys will know how to work well with each other as she's trying to now find her independence, break free a little bit from mom and dad to get ready for those adult years. Right. And you
Yeah.
guys will have a strong structure of like, I love you no matter what. And you know that I'm going to still try to help you be the best version of yourself, but I love you no matter what. And there's nothing you can do about that.
Yeah. And that's it's amazing. That's like the ultimate goal for sure.
Yeah. So, like, for you and anybody else that has a kid like this, I would love for you to write down like good character traits about her that you maybe want to start noticing, or like the opposite. So, like, she's really controlling. Like, what's the opposite of that? Like, you're really easygoing, and then start looking for those things. So maybe having 3 to 5 different character traits that you're going to start looking for, because right now your brain is looking for her being challenging or difficult or taking up a lot of energy. So your brain's like, there she is, there she is, there she is. So we're just going to start retraining our brain. Like, okay, I'm going to find times that she's laid back. I'm going to find times when she is like just a great listener. That's one I like to use, like, when a kid does go do their chores, like, "Oh my gosh, you are such a great listener. Thank you so much for just going the first time I asked you. You're the best. I appreciate you so much." Right? So, like, I'm gonna find these 3 to 5 things, and I'm gonna start noticing those with her. Now, during this, I'm also gonna teach her. So if you haven't downloaded Happy Habits, it's free on my website, right? Coach Meg Thomas. But downloading that and like, and here are little habits we're going to do. But letting her have, like a 7-year-old, maybe she'll want a little bit of an input. Like this is a thing we're going to work on. And maybe dinner is like a really big event. So is there something easier for her that like, let's start getting some momentum going and then we can add in the dinner one so she can start seeing like, oh, I can start getting things I want by just having appropriate behavior.
Yeah, that's super helpful. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Jessica, thank you so much for submitting your question and willing to come onto the podcast. If any of you have a question, please just send it in. You can go to my Instagram, Coach Mike Thomas, and there's a form there, or in my weekly newsletter. Jessica, have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to everybody next week.